Welcome to the Nordic Mythology podcast. I'm Daniel Farrand, owner of the company Horns of Odin. As always, before we jump into today's show, I do have to plug our Patreon. It is how we keep the lights on, and it helps pay the people behind the scenes because there's much more to this podcast than just me. So for £3 a month, that's about 10p a day, you get a bonus episode every week where we do a Q&A with our guests after the main show. You can submit your questions beforehand or in real time during the live chat feature of the show. And that's another bonus. You get to watch the episodes live. There's a whole little side show going on amongst every show in the little chat. It's always a lot of fun. And on top of that, you get our Discord server, which is a beautiful little community that we've built over the years. And you get access to that. You get early access to the episodes. There's a bunch of little benefits, as well as a storytime episode that I do with Jonas Lorentzen, which tends to be a lot of fun. We drink beer and read sagas. They're a lot more laid back and a lot of fun. But let's jump into today's show. So today I'm joined by the very talented Annicke Shireen. I always panic on the surname every time. You please pronounce it properly with the rolling R.
I don't know if that's the proper pronunciation, but this is how my mom called me. It's it's Annicke Shireen.
Okay.
But it's Dutch, right? Dutch pronunciation.
We lost, like I said, we lost the rolling R a long time ago, and British mouths just can't do it. I think if you practice, you can.
Yeah, I guess that's also when you learn new languages, you have to train your mouth or retrain your mouth in a way. That's what I noticed. And I mean, languages are all in the different part of the mouth, I guess. So it's very logical. if you're from a different language, some things are hard to pronounce.
Yeah, I've been trying to learn Norwegian through Duolingo. I say trying. I was really good at it for about 200 days, and then I stopped doing it, and I lost my little streak that you get on there, and I've just not been back. Because I lost my streak, I've been sulking, and I refuse to go back on and start from zero. So I've just kind of given up.
Oh, but you still have the knowledge, even though you didn't win the game, right? You still have the words and the basic of the knowledge.
I have probably a 4-year-old's grasp of Norwegian.
Well, it's a start. I guess it's a really good start.
Very young child, I'm a toddler, which probably I'm a toddler in British as well. So okay, Annicke, do you want to just tell people who you are, what you do, why you're here?
Yes. Well, I am Annicke, and I'm a musician and a designer. I write my own songs and I design my own clothing and I make them. So that's I can make a whole long story about it, but that's in short what I do. I graduated as a professional fashion designer and dressmaker. I'm also teaching dressmaking at the University of Technology in Delft right now. And the biggest part of my income right now is music. I'm a live band member with Heilung. I'm also touring, if I'm able, with Pure Reason Revolution, which is a progressive rock band that has asked me to join them. And and of course with my own band, Shireen, that's been around, I think, since 2009. And I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I started with my own solo to make my own solo music and work together with a producer called Koen Herfst on that one. So I've been really busy in music and fashion, and for all these projects I've also kind of joined forces in styling or dressmaking in some way. So
how do you find to teach? I didn't even know you did that on top of everything else.
Oh yeah, I love it. I really love it because I'm extremely, how do you call this? I love the sewing craft and working with textile making patterns, making made-to-measure patterns. I love that so much, and I have been doing that for 10 years, making custom bridal dresses, but also historical dresses and costumes for stage wear. So like very different commissions. And I have a lot of knowledge, and I really love to teach that. And I just have to say that the students at the Technical University in Delft are really, really amazing, smart people, and they learn so fast, and they're extremely motivated. So yeah, that's really cool to do that. And I love it when I'm just, spending time with people who are growing in that craft and also starting to love it as much as I do. So yeah, that's I've also teach the singing, of course, and it's all about building confidence. So that's what I really, really like, to see how people grow.
You must be the coolest teacher, because I couldn't imagine when I was at college my teacher being like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm gonna go and perform at the Game Awards in LA, see you in a couple of weeks. Like, that doesn't happen for teachers, surely.
Yeah. No, I there's not a lot of people who mix doing music with I mean, I think a lot of people are doing music and teaching, but usually they're teaching music as well. I'm really in a beta environment with a lot of people who, study civil engineering, space engineering, all these really cool things that I don't know anything about. So I mean, that's it's cool, and the students are really cool as well.
Yeah. How old are the students? Are they what college age?
They are starting at, I think, 21.
Oh, okay.
Until it's like a university, so it's like after college.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you.
Yeah.
We have universities too. I just completely passed over the university part when you mentioned that.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah, but so, they are like actually really, into so the Technical University in Delft is also the city where I live. That is a very big university. It's very international. So I teach in English. I have a lot of international students who are doing masters. And it, as I said, it's from civil engineering until space design stuff, and they're extremely well at mathematics. So it's actually really good they are really good at learning how to make 2D to 3D designs, because they know the drill with that. So yeah, they're very smart.
I find clothing makers, I'm sure there's a more technical word to that, but dressmakers in your instance, I find it fascinating, because if you passed me a piece of fabric, I could maybe make you look like a ghost, and that's at a push. I could two holes and a mouth, and that's the best you're getting. Or maybe I could like cut it open and could just drop it over your head, so at least your head's on show. But to make some of the stuff
a poncho,
a poncho. That's a very, very kind way of putting it. But that's the best you're getting. So when I see some of the technical stuff that people made, I'm going to assume that you probably made most of the ones for the music videos you do.
Yeah.
Just for the fact that I'm looking at those, particularly some of like the like lace type ones. I have no idea how or where. I wouldn't know where to start. So I find it a really amazing skill just to be able to do that, let alone the music.
Thank you. I mean, this is also why I love it so much. This craft of being a dressmaker. Just I started really young with it. My mom already taught me the basics, and then I went to an official school for it. And the more you learn, the more inspiration you get to make cooler stuff, and then you want to make even more cooler stuff, and then you have to learn how to do that. And what I figured out was that sewing and designing clothing is a very big puzzle.
Okay.
And it's not just, it's a planning thing, it's a puzzle thing. And it is a trial and error thing. So you start at a beginner's level, and you just never give up, and you're only getting better. I guess I would recommend it to everybody who wants to build a skill. This skill is so big, and it's so rewarding in the end as well, because you can make, at some point, when you know the basics of pattern drawing and you know the basics of sewing, you can learn anything in that area. So
that's just unlocked a memory of a horror story that I had.
Oh no!
So I once actually had a suit made to measure, but so I bought the fabric from this really nice. So Huddersfield, where I'm from, it's known for its fabrics throughout history. It's really known for its woolen fabrics. So I bought like a tweed fabric, you see Harris tweed style woolen fabric.
Yeah.
I bought that, and then I took it. I had a tailor recommended to me to make this suit. And I was younger, so I didn't have a lot of money. So it was like a friend of a friend, and it was a lady that did it at home. And I went and she measured and did everything. And then I went back for a second measurement. So a loose fitting and a second measurement. But she'd been out drinking in the day. So she, for whatever reason, the timings kind of didn't match up. And the only time we could do it, she'd been out drinking during the day. And when I got there, she'd had a little bit to drink. So she took the measurements and was like, look, it'll be fine. I'm just measuring. And then I went and picked the suit up and took it to the occasion and tried to put it on. And the trousers didn't fit. I mean, they were wildly off. I could get them on, but couldn't button them up. And it was a fairly big day, so I had to rush to the closest supermarket and just try and buy some backup trousers to fit. It was frustrating to say the least.
Yeah, I guess stressful as well. Yeah.
So I guess the moral of the story is don't get measured by a drunk tailor.
I think that's that's like the oracle has spoken.
Yeah, that might actually be that might be an Icelandic saga or something. It wouldn't put it past it.
Yeah, I guess you got very unlucky in this case, because of course it should be the right fit, but otherwise you know, this is why you get made to measure stuff.
Well, you're wanting it to fit nicely, and the fit was closer to my Norwegian reading age of a toddler rather than an actual grown adult. The trousers were just tiny. It could maybe get my leg in.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
It was. We sorted it. It got there in the end. But we are going to get to the music. But you touched on the bridal dressmaking, and that had made me curious, because that's such an important thing. Particularly, there's this high image of, particularly a woman when they're going to get married, they think the dream of the dress. So has to be a very important thing, and a lot of pressure for you when you're chosen to, and I guess an honor to make a wedding dress for somebody. Do you feel that pressure compared to other dresses of I have to get this right?
Yeah, very much. I also remember I love doing it, but there was also sometimes a very big challenge, because you're not just making a wedding dress, which is already a big thing. It needs to be perfect, the inside, the outside, everything needs to be perfect. It's usually white. I also had a lot of non-traditional brides, so I made wedding dresses in all sorts of colors, but many white as well, which is also an extra challenge, because before I start with white silk, I need to clean everything in my workroom. I need to not wear any makeup or things that can make stains on the silk.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, so it's you need to work really, really clean, because white silk, when there's a little stain on it, you can't get it out, right? Yeah. So so you need to work very clean. And on top of that, being, also on the call for that specific bride, and I've had many different characters of women. So some were very relaxed about it, and others were really stressing about it. And they would call me like every other day about it, because they were so worried, and their dress was being made and didn't have any control over the situation. They just had to trust me. And as I did it more and more, also my or how do you call this? My name grew.
Okay,
So
like your reputation.
I had more. Yes, so I had a good I still have a good reputation as a dressmaker. So I and many of the brides at some point were okay with letting the control go and just trust me.
Yeah.
But some of them, it's also depending on the person you are, had trouble with that. So that would mean that you're not just hiring me as your dressmaker, but I'm also your hired in best friend, because we go fabric shopping together. You can call me day and night. And I'm gonna make you look pretty, right? So that was like a whole relationship going on with the bride. So I still have very fond memories of of these days, even though it's stressful as well, but it was also very wholesome to connect with a woman on that level and really make them feel good about their day and their looks and appearance, which is much more than just looks and appearance. It's also about them, their personality, the character. How do they want to that one special day? It's a big thing. Yeah,
it is. It is a very important thing. And I'm assuming that you would never drink in between the measuring or at any point during the making.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Well, with a really important, all these things, these steps are really important, and making things like this is just really hard. You need to focus. So it's better not to, be drunk. And I guess that's with every job.
Yeah.
You should not be drinking.
Yeah, absolutely. But okay, you know what? I'm going to make a really good segue, because I've been doing this for 100 and something hours now, 190 odd episodes. So I feel like a professional. I'm going to segue into music by saying, well, musicians seem to be one of those things that equates with drinking whilst playing or drinking on the job.
Yeah.
It's an awful segue into it, but it was the only way that I could figure out to do it.
It's good. Let's talk about that. Yeah.
We can get into this, but it is something that is a kind of equate to doing on the job. Now I think a lot of profession actually, or maybe it was in the 80s, maybe not so much now, feels like a much more professional thing where people aren't necessarily drinking on stage.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, I don't know how it was in the 80s, because, I was born in the end of the 80s. So, all that I know is just from the outside, the things we know,
So was I. I was born in 89. just to clear that, I don't, unless I look 98? Really old. 89.
Me too, 89.
Oh, so we're the same age. You're carrying it much better than I am. I've got
no, I wouldn't say
bags.
that.
But yeah, it is. Certainly, I can only see like the 80s from the bands throwing TVs out of the windows and that kind of idea.
Yes.
And I remember speaking to
a lot of artists.
Well,
yeah,
just kind of throwing hissy fits and the big parties that they threw. And I kind of always had that image of rock stars or musicians being like that. And I'd never really had a chance to speak to many. And I remember talking to Ina Selvik at Megasplot the year that you were there. So that was not the last one, the one before. We did an interview.
2019?
We did, No, the last one, 2021.
Oh, 21.
21, I think. No, 22. 2022.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he's 2022. But one of the years we did an interview with him, and he was saying about how basically they have like he has such respect for people who come and watch the show. How he never drink before, and he's like, it's not acceptable, and he'd never hire or allow anybody into the band because at the end of the day, it's their profession, and people have paid money to go and watch the show, and they deserve the best show. And somebody being hungover or drinking is never going to result in that best show. And that was the first time I'd ever had that kind of one-to-one chat with a musician, and it made me realize that they're not all just getting drunk all the time and being wild.
Yeah exactly. I mean, it really depends also on the scene. So there are specific scenes where being wasted, being drunk is like a rock star thing to do. So it's like an image thing, and fortunately that's a bit old now. So it's like an old-fashioned way of portraying yourself. This is how I feel. I feel also if I see artists who can't, do a show without being under the influence of anything, I think that's extremely unprofessional, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, because performing is not about, of course, you have to flip the switch, and sometimes when you're stressed or there's a lot on your mind, it's hard to flip that switch and to be in the moment, because performing is about being in the moment, being really there with your audience. And some people struggle from anxiety, and it helps to have a beer or a glass of wine on forehand. And I think that's a slippery slope into also venues try to be hospitable, and promoters who invite us, they also ask for a rider, and then there's always wine and beers on it. And so there is, but some bands, they tour for 6 weeks every day. They do a show, right? Just imagine every day there's a bottle of hard liquor in your backstage. Every single day before you go on a show, you take a couple of shots. It creates the opportunity to become addicted to alcohol or to drugs. Some musicians live a really rough life, traveling, playing. And if you do a show every day, it means that you have to also travel and sleep. And going from one way to the other way, you sleep in a bus, for example, which is not the best sleep usually, because it's bumpy and it's like loud and noisy. So it's a very unhealthy lifestyle. And some people also, I guess, were I don't know, but I guess also some people might try to do drugs to get more energy.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
I think and there's a lot of that's how I saw it. There's a lot of how do you call this? I don't know the word actually. When there's when you feel like there's so many things and you have to be strict to yourself not to take it. What's the word?
I should know.
Yes,
self-control.
You need to have self-control.
Yeah, self-control is the right one, I think.
Yeah,
responsible.
Yeah, because if you really tune into yourself, like, do I really need it right now? Yeah, some people just like the taste of alcohol, but do you need that every day, right? It's just that thing in your brain that you need to do. And I'm just talking about when there's a lot of, there's a lot of things you can have easy access to these things. Yeah.
Annicke, I have to confess, during that little talk you did then, there was a moment that you may or not noticed, that I had a realization of what a fucking hypocrite I am, because every time I do the podcast, I have a drink, whether it's a beer or whiskey, because I feel like it makes me more chatty and more fun. So I'm actually a massive asshole, and I just completely...
wow, don't you don't have to be so harsh towards yourself.
But I do the exact thing that I was saying is not the best.
I guess it's always good to reflect a little bit on, do I need this, or do I think I need this? Because that's always I started doing music when I was really, really young, and I think I was 15, and I was playing with my band. I played bass guitar and I sang, and it was really hard to do. So one time I drank a martini.
Okay.
And I was drunk after one martini,
Okay.
and I couldn't keep up with the riffs anymore.
Oh no.
And I felt so traumatized afterward, and I felt so bad about it. It kind of like kicked me in my awareness. Kicked me in my awareness that it dulls your senses, right?
Yeah. So that's your version of my of the drunk Taylor story, is that you once had a martini.
One martini.
Yeah.
But
and
also,
never
like,
again.
I'm not so big, right? I'm a small person, so then when you're 16 or 15, maybe even like a minor, you get drunk really fast, and you know.
It happens.
So,
you learn from it. You learn from it. It's better.
Yeah,
better,
you should learn from it.
better doing it there than at the Game Awards. And what a segment into Let's Talk About the Game Awards. See? Professional.
Yes. Yeah, very professional. I'm extremely impressed.
What was that like? That has to have been a surreal experience.
Yeah, it was first of all, for a band like Heilung, which is we're like, we've been climbing upwards in popularity really fast. But from where we started into where we're now, that's of course a very, very big step. It was a very big milestone in talking about exposure for the band. But the Game Awards themselves, it's also really interesting because of course it's like it's 2 hours of a very scripted it's very well planned. yes words. But it's very well planned, and there's a lot of important big names working on it, and there's a lot of people watching it, and there's a lot of pressure on also keeping to the time schedule, and so we worked immensely hard, like rehearsals and everything, for these 3 minutes. And then normally we do shows of 1.5 hours, so we kind of warm up, and then we do at the end, it kind of explodes and into mayhem on stage and energy wise. And I'm always really, really spent at the end of a show. I just give everything. But this time it felt like we didn't even start, and we already had to. It was already done, right? So it was done in an eye blink. And what I really liked personally was seeing, because there was a live camera crew on stage. And they were just walking through. They had a whole plan made with a choreography to show everything, and that was so interesting. And then they were so professional. So and I have a very I like making videos, and seeing how that works is interesting. My sister's also a video maker, so I really liked it a lot. It was something new. Yeah, that
has to be a weird experience, having people walking through the performance as you're doing it, something that you're not used to. And again, like you say, only doing this 3 thing for anybody who has the pleasure of seeing Heilung live. It's not just a concert. It's not like going and seeing, insert any normal kind of run-of-the-mill artist. It is very much a performance, and a little bit of theater as well. Yeah. So to just do this, I saw you trying to plug your headphones in. And I was trying to extend the question out until you were until they were plugged in. No worries. Yeah, I'm back. I just didn't prepare that well, and now I just got a notification that my battery was low. So, but anyway, it is with Heilung, when we play, it's always, the stage is ours, right? It's like a sacred thing in that moment. We share
we share this with only us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a closed environment in a way. And now there was a whole camera crew on the stage.
Yeah.
But we were also holding fire props, so we were not really supposed to dance around with that because that is, of course, a fire hazard. So we had set positions, so it was easy for them to walk around us. So logistically, it went all fine.
Okay. How does everybody find that, being told that they have to stay still? Because again, from the outside watching the shows, they do sometimes seem quite chaotic. But is that organized chaos even in the regular shows?
Right.
It's still very much.
There are specific organized things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we have a couple of dances with choreography. They're very much organized, and then usually the last song, Hamra Hippier, that there is some sort of rule to it. Like an organization, we do have like this moment is this happened, that moment that happens, but then in between we can dance wild, and that's really fun.
Yeah,
but
I
we
think
do. Yeah.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, we do have a very big choreography. It's a very big part of the show, and I think it, everything comes together: the lights and the choreography. Who is where, who's doing what.
Mm-hmm.
That's very much well thought about. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember because the first time I ever saw you was at Midgardsport 2022, and then I saw you in Manchester, and it was a different experience because of Midgardsport, you're on a raised stage, whereas in Manchester, Pan decided to jump off the stage and run through the crowd during the last song, which I didn't expect to see, which is quite chaotic, I guess. So yeah,
I'm losing connection.
Oh, you back? Are you back? I think it's good.
Yeah, you're back now, but I missed your question because it was a little bit of a glitch.
It was just a comment on how the first time I saw you in 2022, it was a Midgardsport, and that was a big production on obviously the race stage. Whereas when I saw you in Manchester during that last song in that chaotic spell, we had Pan who just jumped into the audience and was like running up the aisles and climbing over seats. So that was like part of that chaos.
Yeah, but it's also if it's possible, our warriors go into the audience always during that song. So I don't know if that maybe started there. There's always been a moment when something unexpected happens, and afterwards everybody's like, "That was really cool. Let's keep it." And then we do that from then on. So now we actually usually always have warriors going into the audience, except when it's really not possible because of how high the stage is or because of regulations. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, it seems like a lot of fun. So what is your specific role in Highland? Because obviously, is there 3 people who do the same, or like the role that you do? At least when I've seen you, there's yourself, Amelia, and another lady, I think.
Mira.
Yeah, Mira. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are backing vocalists because, we are also doing dancing and sometimes playing instruments, but we have been invited to be backing vocalists for Maria because on Futa, for example, there's a whole like multi layered vocals going on. So, and Maria only has one voice at the same time, so she needed to have the other voices. For example, the song Svanrand is meant to be sung by a group of women. So Heilung has been selecting singers to join on stage, and I started with Emilia. So all the way in the beginning, it was supposed to be Maria and then Mirker and Christina, who's a very dear friend of Maria and me. So 4 of us. But then unfortunately Mirker had to cancel the show, so we're only with Maria, Christine, and me. And Christine is a theater actress. So then we went on tour, and because Christina couldn't come, I think at some point, I mean, we've had a couple of people joining in and shifts going on, but Emilia and me, we kind of became this part of the band.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mira joined, and now Emilia has taken a leave to become a mommy.
I know.
And,
I just spoke to her before this, and I was like, it'd be really fun if you just had a spare minute and just popped on and like joined the chat for a little bit. But she was too busy being a mummy, and sent me like a lovely picture. He's absolutely beautiful.
He has the cutest kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I know that. I hope. Yeah, I know that she loves him. I mean, that's
mm-hmm.
I think that was a really big thing for Emilia. But yeah, so now of course she's not able to tour with us, and now Mira and I are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that there's going to be many more singers unless there's like a big production thing going on. I think this is doable as a touring party. We're quite a big group already.
Yeah, I can't imagine the logistics for moving that around.
It's really cool, but it's also a lot of planning.
Yeah, because it's not just the group members either. You have to move all the props, because Heilung isn't the same show without all the bits and pieces and props and all the bits that go with it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a big logistic challenge. We're more like a circus. We're not really a band anymore. It's more like a circus or a how do you call this? A theater family.
Yeah. Okay.
Traveling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is an amazing.
I'm trying to make because I get a little notification that my Wi-Fi connection is unstable, so I'm putting it on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, it will be maybe all of a sudden it's gonna be disconnected or whatever. So I'm just gonna make a backup thing.
Yeah, it was fine, and then it just went a little bit pixelated for a couple of seconds there, but I'm sure it's.
All right.
I can still hear you perfectly fine.
Okay, perfect.
So so how did you start into Heilung from? Were you doing your own thing and kind of, and Maria saw you there, or were you already friends? How did that happen? And then we can go from there into your own solo and the Shireen group.
Yeah. So before Heilung, Maria and Chris were playing with Eugene.
Okay.
That is their female-fronted folk rock project, and Shireen is in the same league of that, like genre-wise. So I met Maria on Castlefest. We were introduced by Kati Ran.
Okay.
And we just got along really, really well because we really vibed on style. And at some point, Maria asked me to make a stage dress for Eugene, which I did. And then at some point, I remember her asking me, "Hey, can we have a video call? Because we're starting a new project, and I'm working on my costume for it, and I have some questions." And that was Heilung. So we had a video call about the costume, and she made everything herself, and it was a really beautiful idea. And then she invited me for the first show to do her makeup. I had been doing her makeup for Eugene once, and I guess she liked that because it takes away a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And it feels nice, if you have like this moment of someone just making you pretty, have like a zen moment. So that was the reason why I did her makeup. And then
Was that at the
when Heilung,
castle? Was that at the Castlefest show?
yeah, it's
Or
Liva,
okay.
the one that got viral. So then Liva got viral.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay.
And then I almost, in the beginning, not every show, but when there was budget, they would invite me. And they were already working on Fuda, where they were, of course, already, they knew that they would need more female vocalists in the future. So they kind of kept me around as a makeup artist. And then at some point they invited me on stage, and it went on like that. It was kind of, it went very organically. And it's really rewarding to see the whole process from the beginning, to have been there, when Lifa started, when they started the show, and just everybody at Castlefest was like, people were very amazed, and they didn't know that they needed it, but I felt like they were waiting for something like this. And I was standing in the merch booth then, selling CDs, because that's what you do. You're just helping out as a friend of the band. And
I've been there and done that.
Yeah, throwing money at me. Like, I tried to give them their change, but they had already left and took the CD. And they were just, yeah. And from then on, it was just something that a lot of people really, really liked and were inspired by.
So you've really been there from the start.
Yes.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. That has to be. Did you ever, when you were doing the makeup, did you ever think you were gonna end up on the stage, and then further from that to where it is now?
I don't know. I had a feeling about it.
Okay, that's cool.
But I can't really. Maybe I don't know if that was just me wishful thinking, because I liked it from the start as well, and was like, oh, I love how Maria's vocals are so light in this heaviness, and this is also, my voice is also quite light. We still have different voices, of course, but it inspired me a lot that you can sing in a heavy band, in heavy music, but still keep your identity as a singer. You don't have to be Enya or you know something. Oh, you can also be in a badass band.
Yeah,
So that was something that inspired me. And then I think before I joined Heilung, I think my first big gig, apart from Shireen, was with Wardruna. So when the first concert after Gaal had left, Einar, he was at the Archeon Midwinterfair to play with his solo thing. And I guess he saw me perform there, because I remember him in the audience and me being all like, oh, Einar Selfix is in the audience. So I was like, oh no. And then he invited me to do the House of the Spinning Seer gig in the Netherlands, which was a really cool experience. And for Wardruna, it was like a transition moment, because Gaal had left and he was such a big prominent figure in the band. So inviting female voices on stage to kind of back up Lindy's singing, I guess that was like a artistic choice. And
knowing Einar, that's huge praise to have him to particularly be in the audience, and then to then that's huge praise from him, because I know I've been lucky enough to see a few shows with him, and he's a hard one to please.
Yes, of course, and he knows what he wants, and he has a vision. So I was very of course very flattered, and that was also in the time when I was still struggling, with the idea of, can I do this, because I want to, but am I good enough, right? And then when something like that happens, it gives you the validation, like, okay, I guess I could do this. But then from then on, you have to work really hard for it. So then you have these ups and downs. But that's how it started for me. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Because I imagine every artist has that stage, and I'm sure there are people that will listen to this who will be in that stage of whether it's music or any type of craft where they panic and think that they're not good enough and they want to pursue it. And I know I can think of one artist who I know will listen to this, who is kind of pushing to be an artist and has that same kind of feeling. So it's nice that you have that validation. You just got to keep going, and eventually the doors start to open.
Yeah, I guess that is something I have been thinking a lot about, and also I feel like I can talk a lot about it, because being a musician and being on a stage is kind of like, in a way, a trap. It's amazing, but also a trap for, you know, being dependent on external validation. Mm-hmm. But if you are dependent on that type of validation, you'll always be riding other people's waves, like the popularity waves, you know, the praise waves. So it's really important to really focus and go back all the way to your core and tune in with yourself, and, you know, be okay with yourself. And then that negative voice, when it comes up, because it always will, when the negative voice comes up, you can tune it down, because you're more solid in your self value, in a way. And performing is also very vulnerable, because, you know, if you have a bad day or you can't hear yourself correctly, you'll sing off pitch, and then people will hate you for it, because it makes them really angry, or they become super critical, which is, you know, some loud people.
I have a bad day every time I try to sing, so I'm not hearing something right.
Yeah, but the thing is, I guess it only has to be one voice, one person shouting on the internet. When you are not secure in yourself, that will already hit you, in a way. And being vulnerable, being out there, you have to fight that demon. Like we all have to. We all have to fight our demons. The thing is also that negative voice is also the other side of ego. Like, you have the balance of ego, and then you can flip two sides. You can flip into, you know, I'm the best and everybody's shit, or the other way, like I'm horrible and everybody else does it better. And it always, you want to keep that balanced. You want to keep in the middle, like I know I can be better, but I'm proud of what I'm doing and I'm growing, and, you know, you have to keep that positive, realistic place. But if you go all the way to one of these sides, then usually it's a big thing. You have to work on your self-worth in a way.
Absolutely.
But that's what I said with the ego trap, or like the validation trap.
Because you can get 100 positive comments on something saying how amazing something is, but if you get one person who hates on it and says it's shit, that's the one that sticks with you.
That's gonna stick.
That's the one you remember. That's the one that's going to keep you up at night. And, you know, I've had it with either the podcast or with the business, with the horns I make. Like before this, I had a lady comment on the horns that we make. Obviously, a lot of time goes into them. They're all hand carved, and she's like, "Oh, you can just get these on eBay for like a quarter of the price." And it's like, well, you can, but the shit, like they're not the same thing. And she's like, "No, they look exactly the same." I'm like, they really don't. But that's going to stick with me now all over the festive period. So thanks for that. Just because it's like a very needless thing as well. It's like, for some reason, it's like people have this need to comment and stuff. It was like one of our adverts as well. So she's like come out of her way to like leave the comment, and it's just like, just keep on scrolling by. I don't understand the need to come in there just to do it. And it's this negativity that we have on social media.
Yeah, and not to forget that a lot of people are very bad quality control, because they don't have any standards or any like, and that's not a bad thing, because they're not experts in that area. But then sometimes they see maybe 20% of something, or a picture of something, and then they can't decide if that's good or bad. And of course they can decide if they want it or not, but they are not, you know, their opinion is not the general truth.
I looked on her profile She has no standards. I'm going to put it out there. I said it. So, I've said it now. It's out there. Her standards are very low.
Sorry, my laptop was talking to me. I don't know why. But but yes, okay. Well, I hope that helps you a little bit without becoming a really sour and dismissive person. I hope it helps you a little bit also in devaluating negativity that doesn't help anyone in the end.
No, I could never be a sour person. I'm too jovial.
Okay.
But yeah,
I mean, sometimes people get under your skin with their opinions. Yeah, that's what it is.
It does. It happens, and no matter how much people tell you, don't listen, don't read the comments. They do always get you. When you see them, they always get you.
I actually laughed. I used to get horrible comments on my music video.
Oh no,
but
you
also
didn't.
Really great ones. Yeah, but it was like 50-50, but it was like when one of my videos went viral. So Umai went viral. It has 5.6 million views or something. And we were like, what's happening?
Whoa.
And then everybody and his mom. And they just have an opinion, right? And they don't know where we came from. They don't know what we do. They don't know us, but they just have an opinion and they write it. And some people just go all the way, and it, both in positive and negative things. I'm sorry. I was just because the chat is open and I saw something, so I'm distracted because of my ADHD.
Don't worry, I'm the same. In the earlier episodes, you can hear me like tailor off in the conversation because I'm reading the chat, but I've got used to it over doing it for years and years now. So don't worry. Every time I see your eyes like reading, I can tell what you're doing. It's absolutely fine. And if people want to know what you're reading, then they should follow us on Patreon, and they can read the chat. So it's not my problem. Patreon / Nordic Mythology podcast. £3 a month.
Me also. Mine is also €3. €3 per month, and I try to upload every week, but I never really. It's not super consistent to do that every week, but sometimes I do it once a month and sometimes I do it twice a week. So I don't know. It's so difficult. I do my best.
It is incredibly difficult.
But it's only €3 per month,
Yeah, so join both of ours. That's £3, €3. It's like what?
It's one expensive cappuccino.
Yeah, or two. You buy them each for one. So yeah, join both. That'll be good. So you mentioned the music video. Obviously, like you said, one of them's got the Umai has 5.3 million, and you've got a couple of others who are. I think you definitely have another one over 1 million, and a few others up there. So I did want to talk about. We've kind of jumped straight into the music video, which I did want to cover anyway. But to touch on what you were saying before about the comments, it is that thing of where everyone has this opinion, and they just see the video and they want to throw out their 2 cents, and they don't see the effort that goes into making the video, all the time it's taking you to design the clothes, put it all together, and the years and years and years of honing your craft, doing your skill, putting the band together, touring, and all this behind the scenes. They don't see all of that. And they just see this video and just want to throw out their comment. And I think if more people took a second to think about all the hardship and all the hard work and all the blood, sweat, tears that goes into what people do to create their crafts, they may be a little bit less quick to throw out hateful comments, because behind every piece of art, whether you like it or not, there is somebody's soul and a lot of their time and dedication in it.
Yeah, I guess you can only know that when you are really diving into making art or starting a business for yourself. or just have a hobby you're passionate about and you want to share that with the world, right? It doesn't matter if it's like a professional or not. It's about and if you don't, and you're just sitting in a space of judgment, then if you're very high on judgment, so you don't really do something yourself because you think that's not good enough either, that's usually the thing, I guess. But now we're diving into psychology and me like filling in blanks, so I don't know. But I feel like some people are more the judgment type, and they can become quite critical or harsh. It's not always a bad thing. You can also filter that a little bit, filter the emotion out, and just see, okay, this is where they are coming from, this is how they are perceiving it, and it can be interesting.
I think of it as it's like is that your laptop talking?
Yes, the Oracle is speaking to me. I don't know what's happening.
So yeah, I call it like, it's like that must be nice. Like that's how people think. It's like they always think, oh, it must be nice to wake up and be a great singer, and you just become a musician or like a global superstar. Or it must be nice for like a model. They're just born pretty. And they're just born. It's like, no, these things, it's not that simple. Just because they're making it look effortless because they're really fucking good at what they do, that doesn't mean that they haven't had to work and graft and try to get to the point that they're at. But people just see the final image and go, oh, that must be nice to be able to do that. And it's like,
yeah,
there's a lot to it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I guess I get that. That's a good point. Yeah, you're right. I feel like, I mean, you can't really have any influence on whether people are gonna like what you do or not, or like you,
Yeah.
As long as you believe in what you do and you like what you do, and if you don't, then it's really good to see, like, can I improve, or should I be a bit nicer to myself? Because some people are also quite harsh towards themselves, and I think that how you speak, like the inner dialogue that you have with yourself, I think that's also very important. And I'm very happy that I'm not that super anxious 21-year-old anymore, that was devastated by a critical comment. I'm much more in a place where I feel like, all right, fine, that's your opinion, but I don't really care, because I don't care that much about your opinion, because I love doing what I do, makes me happy, and that is what life is about, to do what makes us happy. So yeah.
No, that as you get older and as you go on and you realize that those negative comments don't ultimately mean anything. But when you're starting out, I remember, when I was starting out with the business, if I had a negative comment or even a negative review, I would hold it with me for weeks and weeks and weeks. Whereas now I just brush it off, because it's like, oh, I know the business is going to keep going. I know, I believe in what we do. I know we make good things. With the podcast, I know that, again, I'm having fun with it. So you don't hold on to those things the same, because as you had life experience, that it's not actually going to be the be all and end all because one person is a bit of an asshole.
Yeah.
So the music videos, we can start there when it comes to your music. I love them. I think they're great, and we spoke a little bit about before the show how I feel like music videos aren't as big of a thing as when we were younger. I know I can say that now. I know we're the same age. I feel like when we were young, you had like huge budgets for music videos. They were everywhere. I'd sit and watch MTV, or like the music videos were on TV on a bunch of different channels. And I was wondering how important that was now, because obviously for you, like, you're getting huge views on some of them, and how that works into kind of what you do and that whole avenue of music videos. Because the favorite one of yours, is it the song Undo? Is it Undo?
No, I think the most watched one is Umai.
No, I was talking about my favorite one. Was it? Is it?
Oh, your favorite one.
Yeah. Is it? Is it
It's
the one?
Undo. Yeah.
Undo.
Is it yours? Yeah.
I
With
even
the
though
grave.
it's quite a simple concept. I fucking love that video. I thought it was fantastic. I think the song's brilliant as well. But I really, really like that. That was my favorite one.
Thank you. I love it as well. I'm very proud of it. And I'm also that's oh my god, there's a big story around that video actually. I had been making videos for a couple of years by then. The first video we uploaded was unmarked.
Okay, yeah.
And it's wonderful that it's still not flagged because there's boobs in there. And it never got reported.
You know what? It's absolutely insane what gets reported and what doesn't get reported. Because you can get reported for the slightest thing, particularly on Instagram. But then some of the Instagram videos I see, I'm like, how is this allowed?
Yes. I don't know. I don't know. I'm too old for that to understand it.
we don't know the algorithm. It's not for us.
I don't get it. No. But anyway, so that was the first video, and from then on we did unmarked, So Human of You. We had a remix thing, but I loved making videos, and I really got into it, and I worked together with several people. With my sister, who is a filmmaker, with Erik Wildeman recently. I worked with people from Get Off the Road, which I also made a feature film with together. So I loved making videos, and it's a lot of work. We always try to do it we didn't have any budget, so Umai is filled with beautiful people with great costumes, but it's many of them, they just came on their own expense, wonderful. To be part of this. So we had a full day of people volunteering to join, and then Corona hit. We made Taste the Flames. It was a live video. We recently released Taste the Flames as the final song, but we had the Corona version, or like the quarantine version, online for a long time. We weren't able to meet as a band. So we had to shoot the videos ourselves and edit it together, which was done by Kilian, who is the lighting engineer for Heilung. He made that video for us. So I just built a repertoire, and it was really important for me. Shireen has been my project since I think I was 19 when I started writing songs for Shireen. And by now it's such a big part of me as an artist, of my origin, that I really care about it. And I went through quite a heavy breakup in, I think, from 2020 until 22, I guess. It was a very hard time.
Okay.
For me, and I wrote that into music because this is how I expressed my feelings. I couldn't always talk about it. So, and I would just put all this pain into songs. But then when I released
I guess it is a place that you can do that. You can express. Yeah. Express the emotions and not feel too personal. So you have that like almost detachment from it.
Yes. Yeah. I have detachment from it when I just write it into poetry and I sing about it, even though it's very highly personal.
Yeah.
I do feel like I can look at it as an outsider onto the situation, and then just sometimes I write things and afterwards I read it back and I was like, oh, maybe that was about something else actually, or the thing, how I wrote it and how I meant it now has a different perspective to it because I learned so many things. So it's also kind of like a diary, but then I throw it out there in the world. So it feels a bit vulnerable as well. And I just try to cancel that. But sometimes singing a song live is really hard because it also brings me back into that space.
Okay.
And a lot of subjects that I sing about are quite heavy for me and have a heavy meaning. But at the same time, throwing that out there, also a lot of people reach out to me saying like, oh, that lyric of that specific song helped me through a hard time.
Mhm.
So I feel like talking about it is breaking the taboo, and then just sharing
Absolutely.
that, and then noticing you're not the only one feeling shit. Or like in this particular case, you're not the only one having this or that. So I feel like that is also what music is in a way, is therapy and healing. So this is how I started my solo project. I wrote the first one, The Serpent, is about how you rejuvenate and regenerate after, when you're healing. And then the second EP was all about the pain and the anger that I felt in a time where I was in a bad space. So The Serpent was my first solo EP, and Demonet was my second solo EP. And that's a very dark one. It has very doomy sound to it. And Undo was the video for that one. And the story about Undo is
I do love, sorry to jump in, I do love that EP. I don't know what that says about me, but I really like that EP. So yeah, I enjoyed listening to it, and I think it was some great work.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a double thing, because a lot of people also thought it was quite on the heavy side. So
like
people
that,
who are
though.
used to the folk style of Shireen. Yeah, but I guess it's also nice to have different flavors, right, in the music. So, but for me, I just vomited out all the darkness, all the anger, all the hurt in 3 songs, and it felt like a spell. Like releasing these songs also felt like ending a chapter and making space for, lighter stuff. And Undo, the story in the video. So the lyrics themselves are about the breakup and about, my, pain in that time. It's about the story. If you want to start anew and grow, we need to release what we had. We need to undo our bond. So let me go. That was the story. But then thinking about, from in a symbolic way, that is a little death. Like we die and get reborn again, right? This is always when you go through a place of mourning, of cutting off bonds, and then a part of you dies with that, right? And then there's space for a new, and you grow from that. So death was a really big symbolic topic in that whole thing. And the video is about a woman who is mourning. She's in black dress. I used so I made 2 similar costumes, a white one and a black one, and they are completely in the style that my great grandmothers would wear when they were like my great grandmother. So it's like from the 1800s or 1780s. We have photos through the generations of my mom's side of the family of women in their traditional dress, with these little silver or golden curls to the sides. They had a whole like lace cap, and it was just very traditional from a specific area from the Netherlands. And I used that style because I wanted to envision these women who went through a really hard time, and they got out of it even stronger. And I always like the symbolism of being born from the earth, and rising as a phoenix. That was like a inspiration to me. So this woman who is in mourning is holding all her grudges and her pain, and she just finds the grave, opens it. I can see Kim saying Victorian Edwardian. We didn't really have Victorian Edwardian in the Netherlands. It is, I think, from the Victorian times, but it's called klederdracht, and it's just a specific style that is very Dutch. I have a book about it. I don't have it here, but I made a post on it on my Instagram and with some explanation, and you can also Google it if you use the right words, and then you can see pictures. It's really cool. But yeah, I use these sort of like the woman dressed in black is she uncovers her old self, or maybe a new version of herself. She uncovers in the grave, and then they switch places, where one of them gets murdered. Now I kind of, the moment when because there's a tension in this video, and I really liked it that a lot of people trigger on, yes, they're gonna kiss, and then, oh no, she gets killed.
You know, I never once thought that, but I kind of always saw that.
I had a couple of people saying that, at least, but I wanted to create this tension in a way. That's there is this moment like, what's happening? What are you doing? What's that? And then she comes out, and
I think the moment for me was that I didn't expect, with it being quite a heavy song, I wasn't expecting because obviously you like the person in white is synonymous usually with like light and good, and I wasn't expecting them to kind of win and to be the killer, I guess. That was more the surprise moment. I was like, oh, that's quite cool, that because you always kind of expect the dark one to win it, particularly with heavier songs.
Be the evil witch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think in this case the story is that because the colors are very symbolical, and also what's happening is the symbolism is that to be reborn unburdened, because black is the color of mourning in this video. She's wearing mourning dress. She's heavy, sad. To become light again, you need to kind of conquer that mourning. You need to grow out of, you have to kill the depression. You have to kill the sadness in a way and bury it, lay it to rest, pay its respects. And this is also how I felt, like to climb out of that like darkness. I needed to also be strict to myself and say, okay, now, that part of me who's been through all these things, healing from trauma, blah, blah, you can go sit here. Let plans overgrow you. Go sit in the back seat. I'll take over the wheel. All these like symbolical things. And as Jennifer says in the chat, actually, things that aren't serving us anymore, that is what we release. And sometimes that gets killed in a way, but then death is not a bad thing. So maybe the white one is actually saving the dark colored woman, dark dressed woman, sorry. She's maybe saving her from her pain, right? So it's all about symbolism, and
it is.
That was the idea behind the video.
No, I think it works, and that might be why it spoke to me so much. I whilst we're on kind of a more serious conversation, I lost somebody very, very close to me to suicide. Just before, that was the reason we spoke before about when I said I got Rocco, I was in quite a bad place. That was due to that. And it's a huge impact, and it put me into quite a bad spot. Now, the only time I really started to come out of that, and that relates to pretty much everything you were saying, of finding that avenue to be able to kind of get it out and speak about it. Now, I found that through a lovely charity in the UK called Andy's Man Club, and it's like where men in particular, because I think men of my age and older have this idea that you have to suppress everything, and that's probably what I tried to do, was just suppress and be like, I'm going to be fine, I'll be fine, until it builds up and it's not. And I started to go to these little clubs, and we would speak and be forced to kind of like get it out, but not only just the speaking of yourself, is with the listening to other people, and you realize that there are a bunch of other people who have similar or other issues that they're affecting them on a whole different level, and there's very much a cathartic thing in that, of just getting it out there, speaking about it, finding peace with it, and almost hearing yourself say these things aloud, and then you find that peace. And I think that's something that for a lot of people hopefully listening can relate to, and if they are struggling with something, maybe try and find that avenue where you can hopefully just talk about it and express it, and like you say, it is putting it to rest. It's saying this horrible thing has happened in whatever case. I'm going to put this in this box now, and I have to put it to rest and put it out there and not hide and run from it anymore. And that has to happen to then rebirth, to regrow, to start new.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's our
exactly.
that's our serious portion of the podcast.
Yeah, but you say it very, very beautifully, and I think that is exactly, pushing it away. Then you cannot accept it, and you cannot put it to rest. It will always be there, standing in the corner, waiting until you at some point have time to listen. But then it comes and hits you in the back, and that's what happens a lot. And I guess, death is it is a very traumatic subject. And it's then, because it makes us feel something, we maybe don't want to talk about it too much. And I guess you working with that, that's a very, very powerful of you to do. And so, and I'm sorry for to also want to say I'm sorry to hear that. But
it's one of those. I to be fair, I think this is probably I've alluded to things on the podcast before. I've never really spoke about it much, because I'm a pretty private person despite doing the podcast. But it is something that I think is important to try and talk about, and as someone just try and help other people get through things, because now hopefully I'm on the upward from what was quite a tough spell. There are always people who are at the bottom and maybe need to hear that things can get better and things do move forward, and ways to try and help with that.
I'm sorry, part of what you were telling me wasn't, I couldn't hear it because of the connection that failed.
It's okay. I was just saying how I feel like it's important to try and talk about these things, because it helps other people who maybe now I'm on the upward side of things. There is always somebody probably listening who is currently at the bottom, and they might be struggling, and it's nice to hear from things like yourself with the music, and hopefully through what I say, realize that there are ways that it changes. You just have to keep going, and find those ways to kind of deal with it and cope and put it to rest and accept it. You can't take, I think everybody has bad things happen to them, but you can't undo them. As much as we would love to just click your fingers and undo them, you can't. And you can spend too much time harrowing in wanting to just take something away that you can't. So you just have to find a way to cope with it and put it to one side and move forward.
I'm having bad internet connection, so I'm going to try to switch over to my phone.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm going to try to make a hotspot and switch over, so I might disconnect for a short while, but I will be back as soon as possible.
Sorry, we have someone in that can edit it all together and make it all sound seamless, so don't worry.
Hi, I'm back.
You're back. Yeah, I was saying we have somebody in post that can edit out all the little bits and put it back together and make it sound perfect. So don't worry.
So I have to reply to a message in that I see by Jennifer, and I just want to say I'm very sorry, and thank you for sharing that. And I'm sorry that you went through that. And as for me, having a similar experience as a kid, not the same, but also I have some experience like that. So I want to say that I feel very, you're very strong for sharing this, and it's really hard to find the words, but you're not alone. So I would just want to say that.
No, that's people. I completely agree.
Yeah.
It's lovely when people find the confidence in sharing. Again, that goes back to why I think these conversations are important, as difficult as they sometimes can be. It then hopefully helps people then feel that they can share. And
yes, of course, yeah.
So
yeah, and then you don't have to feel alone. And
that's it.
And I feel like that is also why music and writing music for me is such a catharsis, because it is a language of emotion. It's not a language of only words or only sound. It's emotion that we convey through that. And I think any form of art, practicing art in any way is channeling emotions. So that's also why it's a form of therapy for a lot of people. And I guess that appreciating art and making art are both, sides to the same blade. It's like putting not words, but like putting emotions and feelings that we can actually not always put to words, and we cannot always talk about it.
And you get a sense of it, and you can feel it through music as well. Though I can't remember what song it was. So today I spent all day listening to your Spotify.
Thank you.
Because I like to, especially when I have the time, I like to try and prepare for these as much as possible. As much as it seems like I don't, I do try. And there was one song, and I wish that I'd remembered which one it was, that kind of just made me start tearing up. And I can't remember what song it was. It was definitely from the Matriarch album, and I'm sure if I looked at the name list now, I could pick it out. But for some reason, I just started to tear up and get a little and feel really emotional. And I was like, oh, this is, but not in a bad way. And I enjoy that. I embrace that when that happens. And I love that music can do that. And I like it when that happens.
Thank you. Yeah, I have that like very often with a cry about things that don't really hurt me, but just cry. And I feel like that's also a release in a way, a release of attention or a memory that will trigger. And we need to release our emotions, and and sometimes looking at beautiful things that inspire us, or listening to things that inspire us, that is therapeutic in a way. But I'm very honored that you had such an experience with my music. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. And I enjoyed the very clear progression that you can see with the music from the earlier, which were, I think, what was the Matrix album, was that 2017? I think.
Yes, I think
2016.
No.
I think it was one of those. And then to the recent stuff, with the Demon LP, and then the stuff that you've released this year, it starts to feel a lot heavier.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying that. I'm definitely here for that. And is that the direction that it's going to go from now? Well, then I guess there's a little bit of a curveball with, is it the latest one you released, Taste the Flames, which was not heavy at all and was very much focused on your voice.
Yes.
So I was curious as to which direction the band is going in.
We will be all over the place always, I think.
Okay.
Because there is like a specific sound to Shireen or my style. There's a sound to it, and I feel like we don't really limit that to a genre. So it can be very heavy and loud. It can be also light, like Taste the Flames, really depending on what we want to tell with the song. And of course, there's always, when you create an album as a musician, one album is a story. This is, for example, Matriarch is all about that folk sound.
Yeah,
and
that's very clear in it.
Yeah. And our next album will probably be more progressive rock.
Okay.
Meeting folk in a way. This is where we want to go. And what we recently released were we're releasing another song in January. These 3 songs are going to be, they're all on themselves very different, because they are part of a process of the band shifting some members, finding out where we want to go. Some people worked on it separately because of the quarantine times. And the band went through some rocky times because, I mean, this Corona situation hit everybody separately and triggered for people also things in their own lives, which also inflicted into the band in a way. So we're definitely going to be heavier, but light songs like Taste the Flames will always be part of it, because I also feel like if you have a heavy album, I like it when there's like a song or just a part of a song that just gives a breather and just gives a different perspective. Like I experience music very much as a landscape, and if everything is just, thorns at some point, then I want to see something else.
You need the contrast, which then makes the heavier bits more appreciative, because you have, if everything's just 100%, then there's nothing to compare it against.
And it can also be tiring as you listen to a specific genre. Like you can actually build up how do you call it? You can build up a constitution for listening to heavy metal all day long. But if you start with it, like most people kind of have to, it grows onto you. Like every genre grows onto you. And
yeah, absolutely.
And I guess that I always like to balance a little bit on the edge of different genres, because it keeps it interesting for me. And I think every band member in Shireen and every producer that I'm working with, they're kind of on the same level with that. So this is why we experiment a lot in genres, and this is why we will be everywhere at the same time. I think, yeah.
Okay, we should probably wrap this up and do the little bit of Q&A we're going to do after, because I feel like we could end up just talking for hours. And I have friends coming around, so they're going to have to stand and watch the rest of this show anyway shortly. But
okay,
let's wrap up the main show.
Yes.
And if you want to hear more, you can listen to the Q&A on our Patreon. That's just patreon.com/Nordic Mythology Podcast. We're going to do a little Q&A and let people ask you their questions. But Annicke, this has been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you. I always love it when it's just a very comfortable, easy conversation, and it's not a struggle, and that's what it's been.
Yes, I experienced this as well. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really enjoy what you're doing, and I feel very welcome, and I love sharing and talking to you.
Thank you, because that would have been really awkward if you were like, no, actually it's been really hard for me. I've been struggling with this whole conversation.
I think you would have noticed that.
If you'd have said that, then I would have been absolutely good. I'd have been like,
no, don't worry.
That would have been worse than all the mean comments I've ever received.
Yeah, that would be very bad.
Wonderful. Okay. Obviously, you can give a shout out for where people can listen to your music. But I want to say it's been an absolute pleasure listening to the music today. I've loved the journey, and people really should go and check it out. It is very good. I like to say, particularly I like the heaviest stuff. So anybody listening to this, just go and listen to it on Spotify, and maybe whatever's best for you. Whether it's Spotify, wherever, just go and listen to it. It is fantastic. I think it's probably overlooked by a lot of people when it shouldn't be. It's very good. So let people know where they can find it.
Yeah. Like now, I can do that now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So yes, so I'm on Spotify as Shireen with my band Shireen, and then I'm on Spotify as Annicke Shireen, which is my solo work. And it usually, if you liked one, you'll probably also like the other one. And then follow me on social media. I will share everything there, what I do. I'm on Instagram as Annicke Shireen, and you can find me as Annicke Shireen artist page on Facebook, so it's quite easy. If you know my name, you can find me. And let me know if you like my music. I would love to hear. Let me know, if you want to share, just send me a message. I'll find.
Wonderful. And also follow the YouTube. Like you say, your music videos are great.
Oh yes,
You can tell the input that you must have, particularly again with the dressmaking, the clothing,
costume design,
costumes, yeah.
And there's a new video coming up in January. We are releasing a CD with a lot of remixes
nice.
In February, and we do a show on the 4th of February in the Netherlands. And my thing is talking to me. I don't know why.
It's okay. It just sounds like you're really popular and you've got people talking in the background. Don't worry.
It's just my laptop.
No, you've got tons of friends just off screen.
A posse hanging around.
Yeah, you having just
looking interesting.
The little hype crew all there.
That's horrible.
Just shout really positive things at you at all times.
Yeah, I need that.
We all need that. I think everybody needs that. Just like a group of friends just stood there just to show really cool things.
That's amazing.
Okay, so if you want to follow me, it's Daniel_Farron1, or the business Horns of Odin. And again, the podcast is just Nordic Mythology Podcast on all the different channels. A like, share, comment. It's all appreciated as we helps new people find the show. You can never stop finding new listeners. Can you, Annicke? You always want new people.
Always nice to have more people.
Exactly.
We're collectors. Right. We're people collectors, right?
Yeah, we're
collect people. Look at my art. Look at my art. Yeah, I need audience.
Yeah, people collectors in the good way, not in like the serial killer creepy way.
No, in the most like friendly and non-creepy way as possible.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We do our best to really entertain people. That's what we do.
That's it. Hopefully that's what we've done.
Yeah.